Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Bacalauer, and I'm a psychologist at DC Health Psychology.
Hi everyone, my name is Catalina. I'm an intern at DC Health Psychology, and I just recently graduated from Catholic University with a psychology degree.
Hello, my name is Rachel Carafello, and I too am an intern with DC Health Psychology. And I also just recently graduated from Catholic University with a degree of psychology.
So, class of 2020, congratulations. If you're listening right now, you've made it this far. What a whirlwind this last several months has likely been. And we can imagine you've probably heard the word unprecedented more times than you can imagine. And just reflecting on this experience of graduating during this historical time, we're so aware that you've confronted, your own specific circumstances and challenges. And at the same time, we've also observed these common threads among the stories that unite what it's like to be making such a transition during this time. So we wanted to have a conversation with the idea of naming some of these experiences in hopes that you'll hear something that you connect with. And we hope that you'll feel less alone if that's something that you've been feeling. So to get us started, I'm thinking back to March, like around spring break, right when everyone, at least in the DC area, heard that classes were going to be transitioning online. What do you remember about what was going through your minds at that time?
Yeah, back exactly right when we came back from spring break, we switched to online classes, and honestly, I was just focusing on accommodating to the new way of finishing school. And we didn't even know that we were going to finish school online. It was just what we had to do in the moment, whether it was for a month or for the rest of the year. And yeah, I think I was just focused. It was more fight or flight, just focusing on getting my assignments online, accommodating to teachers, and yeah, eventually graduating in this way.
And for me, it was pretty similar. In the moment when we first learned that classes were going to be online, they had initially just said it would be until the end of the month when it was the beginning of March. So I hadn't really thought I was gonna lose the whole semester and lose a graduation. But so in the moment, I wasn't really fazed by it. I was kind of like, okay, I just have to adapt to having class online. Um, but then learning that it was more permanent and that we weren't going to be able to say goodbye to our friends and classmates and professors was kind of a difficult experience for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rachel, you highlighted just such a powerful, sounds like transition point of initially, and Catalina, you were speaking to, like, this all just happened. I have to learn how to have class online. I just need to do what I need to do to get what I need to do done. And then once it became clear that actually this is longer term than we thought, it sounds like it all kind of became very real, the loss that you were experiencing.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a big shift, at least for me, towards the end when I was turning in my last assignments and it was just the last week of classes. Um, I realized, like, well, they were making plans to do a virtual graduation, and how I was going to get my family to see this virtual graduation because I'm here alone in DC. That's when it sat with me that, okay, we're not getting all these things that we were traditionally supposed to get. And so yeah, it was a big rip of the band-aid, and then all of a sudden, as Rachel said too, it was a realization that there were some sore feelings to it. I definitely felt like disappointed and frustrated, but it was very confusing more than anything because there was a grand scheme of things going on. Obviously, there was the whole reason why this was happening was the pandemic. So kind of just battling with, oh, I'm feeling down about this, but I can't complain because I'm healthy and there's so many people just going through so much. So yeah, it was a very confusing time.
Mhm. And I can attest to that because I even felt feelings of guilt for feeling bad about losing graduation and not getting to see my friends in class and things like that, because I recognize that there was a pandemic or is a pandemic going on, that really I didn't have the right to feel
Mhm.
upset about something that's so small compared to this pandemic. So I think that was something that I kind of battled within myself, of recognizing that it is okay to feel upset and feel angry or sad, and know that I did have a loss, and I kind of had to experience that and experience the grief, and it doesn't just get taken away because my feelings can't be taken away just because there are other things that comparably are bigger, because it's still big in my personal life. So
Mhm.
that was something that was quite difficult to navigate through during that time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you both speak so powerfully to just the comparisons I hear. I hear kind of shoulds in there of having a feeling, but then kind of layering on top of that the
Mhm.
awareness of the the bigger picture, then circling back and leading to these feelings of guilt and the shoulds.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think exactly, and I think what Rachel mentioned, that this is a loss, and I think personally when I categorized it as, because throughout the whole, everybody was confused, even in our school, people were figuring out what to do, what was best for the class of 2020. There was kind of pulling of uh, sides everywhere, and so kind of just stopping that and being like, okay, we're not getting a graduation, and categorizing it as a loss really helped me to be okay with the situation, and acknowledging those feelings of, as Rachel said, of disappointment and frustration, and that it's all relative, and this is actually something, this is a milestone you're not getting. So although it sounds it and it was very hard, I think it's very important to acknowledge that, because that's what allows you to see the also the good that came out from the situation, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I would say that even though it was a tremendously difficult situation to be in, especially being second semester seniors of college, I think that there is a silver lining, and there are little silver linings throughout this experience. And one of them is being that I think people are extremely empathetic with what we are going through and what we endured, and that it is a difficult process for everybody, but also specifically for people trying to achieve these milestones and not really getting the recognition that should have been accompanied with that hard work. So I think that especially with job interviews and going forward, going into the real world, people will always remember the class of 2020 and remember what they kind of went through. And already it is scary graduating and then going on to a next chapter, and having such an unprecedented time to go into the real world is definitely scary. So I think people are cognizant of that and definitely more empathetic towards us with our situation. So there's a plus in that, I would say.
Yeah. That they'll see that on your CV or your resume, and it'll automatically elicit like, wow, that person really experienced something historic when they graduated. And also part of what really stands out about what you were both describing are these dualities, that you can feel grief and loss, and at the same time gratitude and awareness of so many different factors, that like your health and your safety and what that means, and that those two, even though they seem to contradict each other, there's something about kind of learning to hold them together that was really powerful, it sounds like.
Exactly, I think that's exactly it. Learning to hold them however way that you are able to do that. For me, it was just sitting that one day or a few days with the loss, and then eventually just being okay with that and being okay with the whole situation, and yeah, just moving on and seeing the beauty and what came of it. As Rachel said, that the class of 2020 is seen as this like magical class, and there's so much commemoration with it. And as you said, Jen, it'll make for a great essay or resume or whatever. So yeah, and I think also what is beautiful about this whole class of 2020 is how we got to celebrate in such special ways. People got so creative. Families went all out, or if you weren't with your family, Zoom calls with 100+ people or not. But yeah, I think it's really beautiful how we accommodated to the situation and had such unique celebrations and validation in different ways. Maybe not the traditional way, but we still got that validation through our own original ways. So
Mhm. And for me personally, I experienced that in a unique way because I came back to New Jersey once we were told that classes were going to be online for the remainder of the semester. And that allowed me to be with my, not physically completely be with my home friends, but I was able to see my home friends and my childhood friends, high school friends, and kind of celebrate graduation with them. And it came full circle from graduating from high school, and 4 years later being able to say, look where we are now, we just graduated college, and experience that together, which I never would have been able to get that unique closure kind of from without this situation. So even though it was definitely a different type of celebration and with different people, it was still people that I was close with and loved from a different time in my life that I think was really unique to the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, part of what I really hear in that is certainly you had anticipated walking across the stage and having everyone be together at Catholic. And there was something really meaningful about the connections of seeing high school friends and commemorating another milestone 4 years later in the same place that probably no other class really has, or at least not under these circumstances. And it just highlights how important those connections really are and that recognition.
Mhm.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that, you know, the process, I'm even aware as we've had this conversation, it's kind of like thinking back when you were going through it, it probably didn't register in the same way that it does when you reflect, and moving forward, knowing that there's still uncertainty. We're still in a time of the same, you know, the crisis keeps evolving, and that these feelings may come back, and there may be versions of loss that could come back up. And I also hear that there are things you're taking from having gone through this so far, that, you know, sitting and holding and being gentle with yourself around the validity of this is really powerful and important.
Yeah, I think, yeah, throughout all of this, I am honest with myself and tell myself that it's not necessarily that I'm going to like get over it or just, oh, it's fine, but I will be okay. I am okay with the way things went, but it'll always stay with me, you know, that I didn't have a graduation. Sometimes like I think that I have to be completely okay with something in order to continue life, you know. So I think just, yeah, being honest with yourself that it is something you might not get back, but hopefully the way like I was able to do something, celebrate in my own way and my own original way that allowed me to be okay with the situation.
Exactly. And I think I learned a lot about myself throughout this whole process, and recognizing that I, going through something like this, although it wasn't, as I said earlier, like it wasn't as big as the pandemic, but it did feel big for me. So recognizing that I can be empathetic with myself, and that is something that's really important. And going with the rest of my life, I know that I'm going to remember that, because if something does feel big to me and important to me, and it affected me emotionally, I know that to accept those feelings and move forward from there, and know that it's valid to feel this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we've been able to have this conversation. And for folks who are listening, thank you for joining us. And we hope that no matter what your experience has been, that you have the opportunity to connect with those who are important to you, the ones who can really see and appreciate and believe in you and your accomplishments. We're just so proud that you've gotten to this point, and there's so much promise ahead, knowing that we're still in a time of crisis and upheaval, and there's also this rich opportunity to be a force for change in a rapidly changing world. So just wishing you all the very, very best moving forward.
Yep, me too. Class of 2020, I think we're going to come out way stronger from this and into your lives, that you're going to bring so much into your lives. Although we did highlight that we lost a lot, we also gained a lot. So best wishes to all, and you're going to kill it.
Congrats, everyone, whether it is a college graduation or high school or 8th grade. Just know that this has been something that, even though we all went through it alone in isolation and quarantine, we also are all together in this, in the adversity. So good job, and keep moving forward.
All right. Thank you. Be well.
Bye.
Bye.